Welcome to WitchLit, a place to talk about the craft of writing and writing the craft. I'm your host, Victoria Raschke, author, publisher, witch, and nosy Scorpio. You're here, so you're probably an avid reader of books on witchcraft and the occult. And if you're looking for an online source for alternative books and indie decks, LaPantheraStudio.com has an amazing selection of books, tarot decks, and oracle cards to choose from. No matter your path, whether you're a folk practitioner or a ritualist, find the right books for your library. That's LaPantheraStudio.com. WitchLit listeners can enjoy 15% off their purchases with code WitchLit. That's WITCHLIT, all one word. Link in the show notes. WitchLit is also brought to you by 1000 Volt Press, an independent, family-owned, digital and print-on-demand publisher of books we want to see in the world. If you'd like to support WitchLit and 1000 Volt Press, the best way to do that is buy our books. Our most recent title is Pagan Roots, Reclaiming Concepts of the Sacred by Yvonne Abaro. Other titles include A Death in the Dry River by Lisa Allen Agostini, Conjuring the Commonplace by Lane Fuller and Corey Thomas Hutchison, and my most recent novel, Verona Green, A Story of Art and Magic. Head over to 1000voltpress.com/store or order them wherever you buy books. You can also support the show by buying us a cup of coffee at ko-fi.com/witchlitpodcast. All those links can be found in the show notes. Listening, subscribing, and leaving a rating or review also supports the podcast, and we really appreciate it, so thank you. Next month, I'll be reading and discussing the tarot masterwork, 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack with author and professional tarot reader Cassandra Snow. Originally published in 1980 in 2 volumes separating the major and minor arcana, 78 Degrees of Wisdom has never been out of print. The most current edition is available from Weiser Books in both paperback and digital versions, and an audiobook is also available. Welcome to this month's edition of WitchLit. So a little housekeeping before we get into the episode. Just if you're reading ahead, before my guest and I discuss this book, next month I'll be chatting with Cassandra Snow, editor of Tarot in Other Words and co-author with Siri Vincent Plouffe of Lessons from the Empress. And we're going to talk about Rachel Pollack's Tarot Classic 78 Degrees of Wisdom. For this month's episode, Katta Kis has joined me, and she and I are going to talk about Anton LaVey's Satanic Witch. So before we jump into that, I'm going to give you a little background on both of these. I had not read any LaVey, so this was all new for me. This is his biography from Britannica Online. Many details of Anton LaVey's early life are disputed or unknown. Soon after he was born, his family moved to the San Francisco Bay Area. According to some accounts, he left high school to join a circus. He subsequently worked as a psychic and as a nightclub organist, among other occupations. Meanwhile, he developed an interest in the occult and gained local celebrity in San Francisco as a dark, mysterious figure who rejected traditional Christian morality. Having changed his name to Anton LaVey in 1966, he founded the Church of Satan, calling himself its high priest on Walpurgis Night, April 30th, a traditional night of revelry in Northern Europe and Scandinavia. 3 years later, he published the Satanic Bible, in which he set down the teachings and rituals of his church. LaVey presented Satanism not as the practice of evil or as the worship of an actual antichrist, but as a kind of ethical egoism. According to LaVey, traditional religions were fundamentally hypocritical and dangerously inhibited the physical tendencies and emotional needs that were vital to human life. He claimed his brand of Satanism was inspired by his having noticed as a teenager that the men he saw at church on Sunday praying to God for absolution were the same ones he had seen at burlesque shows on Saturday night. LaVey's Satanism was, in fact, atheistic. The opposition between God and Satan represented for him the struggle between hypocrisy and repression on the one hand and indulgence and liberation on the other. LaVey was also not a nihilist. He instructed his followers to obey the law, and he taught that indulgence and pleasure could be beneficial only if it did not harm others. LaVey's persona was always greater than the Church of Satan, whose membership never exceeded about 2,000 people and which declined when a splinter group, the Temple of Set, formed in 1975 in response to LaVey's selling of higher church offices. His fame was enhanced through his popular writings, best known of which was the Satanic Bible. However, many of the claims he made about his past, including that he had had romantic affairs with the actresses Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield, were demonstrated by biographers and even by the Church of Satan to have been fabrications. So, kind of the end of his life, this bit is from Wikipedia. According to his family, Anton LaVey died on October 29th, 1997 in St. Mary's Medical Center in San Francisco of pulmonary edema. However, his death certificate lists October 31st, 1997 as his death, and after some digging, apparently it was added to his death certificate illegally later. He was taken to St. Mary's, a Catholic hospital, because it was the closest one available. A secret satanic funeral attended by invitation only was held in Colma, which is the city of the dead, south of San Francisco, for folks who don't know, after which LaVey's body was cremated. So Katta and I read The Satanic Witch, which was originally published under a different name, so I'm going to give a little background on that. This is also from Wikipedia. The Satanic Witch is a book by Anton LaVey, currently published by Feral House. The book is a treatise on lesser magic, a system of manipulation by means of applied psychology and glamour or wile and guile to bend an individual or situation to one's will. The book is introduced as an extension of LaVey's witches' workshops, which were conducted prior to the founding of the church. The book represents itself as methods, as a tool of the feminine, and how the female can enchant and manipulate men. The book was first published as The Compleat Witch, or What to Do When Virtue Fails, and complete is spelled Compleat, in 1971 by Dodd, Mead and Company. The first paperback was released in 1972. It was republished by Feral House in 1989 with an introduction by Zena LaVey, wherein it was titled The Satanic Witch. Republished again in 2003 with a new introduction by Peggy Nadramia, who I think is one of the current leaders of the Church of Satan, and an afterword by Blanche Barton. The book concludes with a bibliography of over 170 books on topics of psychology, anthropology, sociology, biology, and volumes on sexuality and body language. The publisher describes the book as undiluted slur for Romani people lore regarding the forbidden knowledge of seduction and manipulation. So that's what we're here to talk about, which is going to be juicy. And to talk about with me is Katta Kis, author of Love in the Liner Notes and Love at the Rock Show. And she is going to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Katta Kis. I write contemporary romance with real life paganism. I am a witch queer writer based in Sacramento. And I did not read this book before I suggested it, and I may have some regrets, but it should be fun to talk about it.
I think it is going to be fun. So I'm curious. So what was your impetus for choosing it since you hadn't read it?
Okay, so my third book, No Love in LA, my heroine is satanic. And I've read some of LaVey's work before, and I figured, okay, I'm having some trouble getting satanic works that I can find that are not like weirdly Nazi loving, like Lords of the Left Hand Path, or like Satanic Panic era, or having echoes of the Satanic Panic. So I figured I'll go back to LaVey. I haven't read The Satanic Witch. This is probably, apropos to what I'm writing. And so I suggested it. And then I picked up a copy and I read the back, and it says, "The Satanic Witch is not designed for Barbie dolls, but women cunning and crafty enough to employ the workable formulas within." And I was like, oh, we're in Not Like Other Girls territory, even though this book is Barbie doll pink.
Yes.
So now we're here.
Yeah. So the little blurb about the book mentions that there are multiple editions of this. So I read the 1989 version with Zena's introduction, which I do not think is in the copy you have.
No, I read the 2003 version with Peggy Nadramia and Blanche Barton.
Right. So I went on a deep dive because I thought, I want to read the original. I want to read The Compleat Witch. It is ridiculously expensive if you can find it. I saw one copy and go like on a Libris for like $500 for the paperback. And I was like, no way. I'm just going to get a used copy. So the only used copy I could find was the 1989 one. And so Zena LaVey, who now goes by Zena Shrek, is his daughter, who was famously baptized in the first satanic baptism when she was 3 years old. And so she wrote the introduction for the 1989 edition, and it basically is like reading someone who hasn't figured out that they were abused as a child.
Oh.
Because she talks about, it opens with her talking about her baptism.
Mm-hmm.
Like she can remember it, which she was 3, so I'm doubtful that that's true. Or if she does remember, it's probably stuff that other people have told her, kind of thing. Although it probably was, I mean, I'm sure she could have glimpses of it. I know people can have memories that young, but it was very detailed memory, which I find, somewhat lacking in reality. And then goes on to talk about how, because of her Satanism, that she understood really early kind of the tenets of this book. And that, she is a woman by the time she's 14, and she gives birth at 14 to her first child.
Oh, no.
So it's very much this like, oh, you were not taken care of as a child kind of thing. And at this point, she still is very anti-feminist, which the whole book is kind of anti-feminist. And it was just really painful. And then to read later that she's really distanced herself from all this. She changed her name legally. She's really not, she kind of has adopted kind of a Eastern religious bent, and mostly works in Germany as a music producer. So I was like, I'm glad you finally maybe figured out what was going on, because it was painful to read.
Yeah, oh gosh. Yeah, I had a completely different intro. Well, okay, so it wasn't that different, because it was this high priestess pegging the drama, and it was hardcore, not like other girls. Like, thank goodness I found this book when I was 17. And I was already exhibiting one of the telltale signs of witchery. I liked being with young men more than young women, and got along much better with the opposite sex. And I was just like, oh, honey.
Yeah.
But, this was from the perspective of, I assume, a full-grown adult by this point.
Yeah.
It seemed like she was 17 in the 70s. And this came in 2003. But it really, for me as someone who grew up in the 2000s, just was like, it hit that wavelength of not like other girls misogyny that I had grown up with and internalized for a while. So I was like, oh, I see where this is coming from. Okay. I guess I'm kind of prepared for this book. Also, I was prepared for the fact that he really likes the sense of gunpowder and urine, which I'm glad I was prepped for, because it comes up a lot in the book.
Yeah. There is, for those who have not read the book, there's a little quiz at the front. It's like, if you answer 13 of these, because of course it's 13, correctly, then you might be a satanic witch. And if you go to the last page, and the answers are all upside down in mirror writing for you to hold up and figure out what it is, because of course. Yeah. And one of them is, have you been referred to as cheap? Which, yes, is the answer you want for that one, by the way. And another one is, are you meticulous in feminine hygiene? And the answer you want for that one is no, because apparently you want to smell like unwashed body parts and maybe a little bit like pee.
Yep. And like it, apparently. I'm learning so much about men.
Yeah. So I think the thing that I took this away from it. I was joking. Of course, when you read a book like this, you wind up reading passages out loud to the other people in your life. You have to make them suffer with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was reading out loud the part about the salad dressing.
I read that part out loud too.
Do you want to talk about it then?
Sure. It was, so apparently in learning about the genders, women are like blue cheesy type salad dressing because it smells like balls, and men like sweet salad dressing because it smells like pussy.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that, it really is a lot of LaVey's ideas in this book in a nutshell.
Yeah. I was trying to explain it to my husband. I read it out loud and he was like, are you kidding me? I was like, no. I said, I'm only glad that honey mustard dressing wasn't really a thing when he read this book, because it might have ruined it for me forever. But so for folks who haven't read the book, he has this whole thing he lays out, which I jokingly refer to as the Satanic Enneagram, which is like he puts everybody on a clock face.
Mm-hmm.
And so like if you're at the top of the clock, you're more dominant. And if you're at the bottom of the clock, you're less dominant. So if you're a woman and you're at the top of the clock, you're either a closet lesbian, a transgender person, or you're a dominatrix. Like those are your choices. If you're a man at the bottom of the clock, you're oddly like the person who keeps the entire world running, which I thought was really interesting. A homosexual man, or a closeted trans woman.
Yeah.
Or you just like to be dominated. So I was like, okay, well, those are all kind of different things.
Yeah.
But and then the degrees shift around the clock. And so the thing he tells that everybody has a core personality and then this like kind of middle personality and then their apparent personality.
Yeah.
But your core and your apparent match somehow.
That was what was hilarious to me, that it was like an Oreo, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, like humans are like an Oreo, and your goal is to appeal to the demonic personality, which is the creamy middle bit. And that the way to do that you have to find the person who's opposite of your demonic.
The only way it'll work is if they're
the only way it'll work. Everything else is bullshit, apparently.
Yeah.
So I wrote a lot of notes. It was like, okay, this is Satanic Enneagram. Also, like apparently being a witch, a Satanic witch, means you are entirely dependent on men for your magic.
Yes, and he was like, men are where the power are. Don't worry. I think one of my least favorite parts of this book, which I was calling Cosmos for Satanists at this point, is that there's a chapter called Bitchcraft, and like the whole first section of the chapter is like, fuck other women. Like, don't be like other girls. Don't make friends. They're just kind of out to destroy you. They don't like you. You shouldn't like them. And if you tell a man about how much you like other women, they'll get bored and sick of you. And I was just like, ugh!
Yeah.
It was just so like, so I was reading parts out to my partner too. And at a certain point, they're like, is he just trolling us? And I was like, no, I don't think so. But my thought is that it's almost a reverse psychology, because he's just like, you should stay under the thumb of men. You're manipulating us. Don't worry about it. But you're totally like, everything is the male gaze. Everything is about men. Your life should revolve around men, and how you can manipulate them at all times. You know, the way you dress should change to fit men. The way you act should change to fit men. You should customize yourself to every man you meet to have him under your thrall, theoretically. But the question is, like, who actually has the power in that situation?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, even changing the pitch of your voice based on where you think this man is on the clock, you know?
Right. And you have to fit your archetype. So if you look a certain way, you have to conform completely to that way. And I did appreciate that he wasn't like, you have to be super skinny or you have to be super pretty. He was like, if you're ugly, lean into it. But like, also, I take issue with probably what his idea of ugly was.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing I came away from it with, and maybe it is tongue in cheek. I mean, I kind of cruised around on the internet. I was doing some background research and people were like, oh, it's written tongue in cheek. And I was like, but was it accepted that way? Was it received that way? Like, I don't know. I was born in 1972, so clearly was not here for the reception of this book. And the thing that I really took away from it is, like, it felt so conservative. Like, you know, he just slams feminism. He slams the hippie movement. He slams anything that isn't this, like, you know, he's like, women come to me thinking I'm going to be turned on if they're all dressed like Morticia in all black, you know, but really it's the women in white and pink that turn me on. And I'm like, ooh, like,
yeah,
why does it matter? Like, why can't people just be who they are? Like, his concept is that you have to fit a mold.
Yeah.
And this mold is a very specific kind of gender essentialist idea of womanhood. And it puts men in that box too.
Yeah. And what was interesting to me was then reading the Blanche Barton bit in the back, where she was like, he had this idea of the erotic crystallization index.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And which is like when you come into your erotic self is when your tastes crystallize, which I think is bullshit because people change over time. But she was like, well, his crystallized in the 40s and he never got past that. And I was like, because he has all these sections about how tall your heels should be, what kind of heels they should be. You should wear high heels. They're easy. Don't worry about it. Which is the point where I was like, okay, you crawl out of that grave and wear high heels. How about like a little bit? I know children can wear them, but they're not wearing them all day. You know, and then like how short your skirt should be, what you should wear tights, not pantyhose, because pantyhose are unsexy. You need to be wearing garters. You need to be wearing, you know, all these things. And I looked back on that and I was like, oh, this is the 40s in a nutshell. This is what women wore in the 40s. And you just think that we should stay that way.
But he's very anti-women in pants, which was also really big in the 40s.
Well, you know, that wasn't the women he was looking for in the carnivals, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. Part of my erotic crystallization is like women in pants.
I love a woman in a sharp suit. Whew, I'm into it.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, I guess he probably says I'm a lesbian on the bottom of the clock. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, he like barely talks about bisexuals. And it was just, my partner's non-binary. So it's just like, are they just swinging wildly on this clock?
They're the center of the dial.
The center of the dial. There you
go. Yeah, like, and he does acknowledge that like gay people and trans people exist, but it's so reductive.
Yeah.
And it's not like flattering in any way. He just accepts that these humans exist and they're out there, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you, the perfect pick-me satanic witch who has every man wrapped around her finger, even if you're a lesbian.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah. And I love how he has these sections where he's like, oh no, this is going to be so safe for you, having all these men obsessed with you. Nothing could possibly go wrong with that. And I was like, what? Have you met men?
Well, have you met humans? I mean, you know, like all humans are capable of obsession that veers into violence. And I was like, you're setting people up for obsession.
Yeah, and mostly unfulfilled obsession. Like you're basically, he tells you to string a lot of these men along and like have them masturbate to your image for like weeks on end. And then you just go, yeah, you did it wrong. Send me more sexual vibrations.
Yeah. Like the thing that I thought was amusing is that he has this giant bibliography. That's a lot of books on psychology and body language and all these kind of things. And I'm like, did you read them? Because even at that time, I can't imagine. I mean, yeah, 70s were not super progressive in psychology, but like, I think we kind of understood that frustration can lead to violence even then.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know.
And like, not a single thing is cited in this book. So I'm just like, where are you applying bibliography? Like, what is going on? Also, there's all this whole section on how you should hold your face. And at one point he's like, you shouldn't like dip your head low and then frown and look up through your like eyebrows. And then I like did this to like see what that looked like. And then I looked at the back of the book and he's doing the exact same. This is his expression on the back of the book. I'm like, oh, so you get to look like an angry, like teenage boy. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say something good about it just because I feel like, you know, but I honestly like, I think it's interesting as an artifact.
Yeah.
Could I recommend anybody read this book for like knowledge? Absolutely not. And it feels, I think the thing that really just came away from it is so, like to me in 2025 reads like satanic trad wife.
Yeah. But also like the edgelord with a trad wife. Like It was just, I would call him the original edgelord, but I think Crowley got there first.
Yeah.
But
he does shout out Crowley a few times. But.
He does. But he gives me like, and I got this when I read a bit of satanic rituals as well. It's just like, he really gives me angry teenage boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's an angry teenage boy listening to this right now who's going to be very mad at me.
I don't know. I mean, just looking at our demographics, I don't think we have a lot of under 18 males that listen to our podcast. But yeah, I mean, if you believe in his like erotic crystallization theory, I think he also like stopped progressing at like, he's also arrested at that period. And I mean, having read more, like, I didn't really know that much about, I just knew, Anton LaVey, Jane Mansfield, you know, like, just kind of, like, lore stuff about him. But apparently he regularly beat his second wife, who filed a restraining order against him. His daughter, Zena, the same one who changed her name and distanced herself from the church, released with her now ex-husband, basically a fact sheet that kind of categorizes all the stuff he lied about. Like, he never worked for a circus. He never was a police photographer for the San Francisco PD. Really? You know, like, all of this stuff is all fake. It's on, you can actually access it, I think, through the Wikipedia page if people want to go look at it. And then he apparently was very cruel to the animals he owned, even though he talks about how this loving relationship he has with animals.
That was like the one thing I liked, where I was like, oh, he likes his animals.
Yeah, no, apparently he beat his Doberman he talks about in this book.
Oh.
And almost let it starve to death.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, like I just think, and, you know, it was like, oh, he was a showman and he was charismatic. It was like, he sounds like a narcissist. I mean, honestly, like, all of those things kind of come together like that. And I can't, like, I'm just trying to imagine, like, knowing that about him, because all of this, I mean, that fact sheet was published on the Church of Satan website, the one his daughter put together. So if you know all these things about him, like, why? I don't know. What is appealing to that? The other thing that really I did not know that kind of made me do a double take. So when he has this whole thing about the Satanic Bible was to really create a holy book for his church. Mm-hmm. Clearly, it was pretty much like a cash grab. Like, Avon Books came to him and said, oh, we want to cash in on this Satanic Witch, late 60s, you know, kind of thing. And can you write a book for us? Which he mostly plagiarized from a left-wing white supremacist book called Might is Right.
That explains a lot of the social Darwinism and eugenics that I had a problem with in the Satanic Bible.
Yeah.
Because there's like sections where it's like, oh, you know, your body's sacrosanct, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly it goes like, but certain people, and like it has like this weird, like almost BDSM part about how women want to be passive, which is really huge in this book. And I remember being like, what left turn did we just take?
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I mean, and I might get some hate for this, and I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, I think that thread continues through like the Church of Satan and the offshoots, like the Temple of Set and that stuff. And I know people are like, oh, you know, Stephen Flowers says he's not racist. Well, all of his money goes to
Stephen Flowers wrote Lords of Left-Hand Path, and the section on Nazism he's fucking drooling. He's just like, oh, the Nazis. Oh, they weren't so bad.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is the, you know, the Temple Set is an offshoot of the original Church of Satan, or Satanic Church. And like, it's all kind of there. And I was like, if, you know, can you be a Luciferian witch today and not be in this? 100% yes. If that's your jam, I think you don't have to be in this piece of it. But I think not, it's kind of like, you know, modern heathens who don't like wrestle with the fact that also has been co-opted by the left-wing white supremacist, you know, fascist brigade as well. So I think, yes, these things can exist outside of this mindset, but I think you have to be honest that that's part of the history of it too.
It's hard too, because it's like there's other types of Satanism that aren't from LaVeyan Satanism, but LaVeyan Satanism is so big. Like, even though they're not really a practicing church anymore, and like they were always open about being for profit, but like they just had, he was so big on cultivating, like talking to celebrities and stuff like that, and like the limelight and all that, that he really has a big part of the sort of pop culture idea of Satanism, barring then the Satanic Panic, which it was interesting to me that this got re-released in the 80s, right around the Satanic Panic.
Yeah, which I suspect Feral House capitalized on. I mean, I suspect like other things, it was also a cash grab.
Yeah.
So, especially to rename it, because you could have republished it as The Compleat Witch by Anton LaVey.
Yeah.
And to rename it The Satanic Witch in the middle of the Satanic Panic had to be.
Right. And I was always wondering, like, where does he get his money? Because there's just, this is a fairly edited piece of work, but there's just so many passages where he goes on and on and on and on about like things that he's observed over the years, or that he sees, or that, you know, his theories on things. And I was just like, who had the time to just sit there and like write this out and do this when he doesn't seem to do anything else? Like, he doesn't talk about what he does now. It's all like, when I was doing this, when I was doing that. It seems like he gave the impression that he was just sitting in his house writing the book and advising women who threw themselves at his feet asking for help.
Yeah, I mean, I get the impression that people thought he was wealthy at some point, but like the Black House in San Francisco had belonged to his parents, and they gave it to him and his first wife as a gift. Okay. Even though there's like a whole lore he put out about that, it was a family house. And then by the time he'd split up with his second wife, I think Diane, and gotten with Blanche Barton, who's his last, like, I guess, you know, was his companion to the end of his life, they basically lived on handouts and assistance from the state of California. And when the house was reevaluated, it was in such poor repair, they basically had to tear it down.
Wow.
So I don't think he had any money. I think he was coasting on people who gave them money or through state assistance, which, you know, I mean, he apparently was not in great health either toward the end of his life. So state assistance is there for a reason, and I'm happy that he was able to access that. But I think he lied a lot about his success.
Yes. Right. And I feel like if he was called on that, he would spin it as some sort of manipulative magic that he was able to make that money.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting to get a peek into this. It felt like sort of the blueprint of his fetish. And like him sort of generalizing this, that all men want to see your dirty bra strap type thing is just, I don't know. It's very male entitlement, I guess. It's like, it gave me like male privilege to the like degree in a way. It's just like, it felt so actually what it reminded me of was this book that my dad gave me when I was a teenager called Games People Play, which is the basic handbook of transactional analysis by Eric Byrne, MD. But it's a like 50s book of social psychology that's like, this is how social interactions go. These are the games people you play to like get what they want, and men do this, women do this, these are the roles. And I remember reading it even as like a 13, 14-year-old being like, I don't know about this, because it was like, oh, the game of alcoholism, and like the game of pretending to be, oh God, isn't it so awful that this happens, or whatever. And it's just like so generalized, so gender essentialist, like. And I was already, you know, I was a tomboy kid, a girl who was just like strongly in my not like other girls phase. And at the time, I was just like, what women would do this? What men, like, I don't understand. And sort of reading this feels like an extension of it. Actually, I didn't check the bibliography, but I bet it's in there.
Probably.
And
I know it's pages and pages of bibliography too. There's a ton of books.
It gave me that vibe of like, this is how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just how it's going to happen. And you're just going to have to deal with it. Men like to chase, women like to be chased. And, you know, you're going to have to figure out how to conform with that if you want to get the way where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe because I'm a little narrow, spicy and queer and all that, I can't play those games.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to me to that gender essentialism idea. Like it, you know, it's, I mean, I told Kyle, I said, if TERF had been a term, I think he might have been a TERF in many ways. But it really comes across more narcissistic to me. Like my view is the truth and I like to dominate people. So I'm putting myself at the top of the clock. I'm the best.
Right.
And this is how I shift everybody else out around me.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on like the body shapes that go with the parts of the clock.
Yeah. Like it's like phrenology. Like there's just so many aspects of like really, like you said, eugenicist kind of horrible things in this stew. And I, you know, like just reading it now, none of this appeals to me. Like the transactional nature of relationships doesn't appeal to me about it. Like you said, the gamesmanship doesn't appeal to me about it. This gender essentialism doesn't appeal to me about it. I mean, I identify as a cis woman, but like I don't feel like I'm not a woman because I don't want to wear pink frilly dresses and stilettos.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to the TERF thing a little bit, I was actually surprised that he was as accepting of trans people as he was for that time. Because he was like, oh, they actually make better women because they try harder. But it was just, you know.
But that's also kind of reductive.
It was, no, totally. Absolutely. I was just like, that was one of the few things I was pleasantly surprised about is that he wasn't like, well, he mentioned them and they existed.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. I mean, he actually mentions Christine Jorgensen, which surprised me. Yeah.
But like, and that he wasn't like, oh God, you know, but I think that fit with his image more to be accepting of those folks.
To be somehow like.
And he did live in San Francisco, so he would have to be like pretty like pulled up in his house not to see those folks.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, I was just like, whoa.
But I don't know. I felt like just like so much of it was reductive about what it meant to be a woman, what femininity is, what it meant to be a man, what masculinity is. Like you said, like there's no space in that for gender fluidity. There's no space in that for gender expression. Like if you are a woman, these are the things you must do, or you have to be a hag.
Yes.
And I mean, he does kind of talk about that. Like you can be monstrous. And I'm like, well, what does monstrous look like to him? Is that someone who's gender fluid? You know, is that someone who is non-binary? Is that someone who, you know, doesn't play the role of woman but identifies as a woman? You know, what is his idea of what monstrous looks like?
Right. Yes. And like he just does, for all that he really drills down into how you're supposed to be a pretty woman, he does not go into how you're supposed to be a monstrous woman. Just like bake some cookies, people will show up.
I mean, it really ignores the population, you know, percentage of us who bog witch is a goal.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I was amused at points because I mean, he does write, like you said, it is poorly edited, but there are some parts where he's amusing. Like you could kind of see in the way that he writes that he might have been charming in person. Like, I don't know, but also like there is that edgelord aspect to it. And maybe that wasn't a thing at the time that people really thought. He was just so transgressive that was its own draw.
Yeah. And
But
I do think that probably that was part of it, but it definitely is an edginess to be edgy. And knowing that he probably came from some money is just like the icing on that cake, because there's always that like, and maybe I'm stereotyping like him, but there's always that rich kid who like is pretending to be a poor skater or a poor, person on the fringe because they want to experience the thrill and get away from the norms that they grew up with. And this really feels like he just never got out of that phase.
yeah. So, because you went into this with a goal for your research purposes, do you feel like you took anything away that was helpful? Or
I mean, I think thinking about this as a character development thing, if my character had read this at a certain age, she might have been more influenced by it.
mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking about like if she, because at a certain point she runs away from home because she has a tragic backstory where her mother killed her father, and then she bounces around relatives, and she wants to be a star, and so she runs away to LA. And if she had read this at this time, I think she would have enacted some of this. And I do like think at certain points she was using people to get where she wanted to go, because she's that type of person who would see a rich guy who thought she was hot and be like, oh, let's see where this can go. But she's definitely evolved past this. She's more of a very much in the bodily autonomy part of it, and like some of the more social justice branches of Satanism. I understand that we were talking before, and you said that there were some possible issues with TST, but sort of some of their initiatives are what I think she would do with her money. So she does run like a homeless foundation because she was homeless for a while. And then she starts a bodily autonomy fund, which causes her a lot of issues in this upcoming book. But that's her kind of thing where she's using that to help other people, but is not averse to being like, oh, you want to fuck with me, I'm gonna make you regret this. But she definitely has the mentality that LaVey talks about in the Bible, in the Satanic Bible, where if someone is trying to hurt you, destroy them. Which, now that I think about it, is rather Might is Right. So I have to see how I want to play that in the book.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting having read, like, knowing when you told me that you were picking this because you wanted to read it for research, and thinking about having read your second book where she features prominently in parts. And I was thinking about, there's a couple scenes, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a couple scenes where she goes to like one of the buses on the tour to get someone to come out of the bus. And that, like, being able to turn her personality on a switch made me think of this as like that ability to manipulate yourself to manipulate other people.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I could see how someone could have come away from this book with ideas about that.
Yeah. And she's like a consummate performer. She's got this like extreme form of charisma where she's sort of, her emotions are bigger than her body, and like everybody feels it around her, which is great when she's on stage, and not great because she's a PTSD ridden, woman who hasn't dealt with her shit. And so when she gets triggered, everybody around her is suddenly like, oh God, why does it feel like, why am I so tense? Why? And like, I don't know if you've been around people where you like, they get upset and suddenly you're walking on eggshells and just like, oh, do you need anything? Are you okay? Like that kind of thing is something she does really easily. And so in this book I'm writing, I'm trying to balance how she can figure out how to not do that to everybody, basically, and be more self-aware about it. Because as part of her sort of redemption arc, she is rather antagonistic in book one and somewhat antagonistic in book two. She needs to sort of be aware and not harm people and reckon with the harm that she's done.
Yeah.
But I don't want her to become some sort of like milksop like Pollyanna. I want her to still have that edge.
Mm-hmm.
And so that balance is something that I'm playing with, because she's a badass and I love her, even though she's kind of horrible and crazy at times. Like, it's just like, and I don't mean crazy as a slur. I mean, she's just like unpredictable even to herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But powerful.
So I was thinking about that, like how that character, Angela Alice, comes across in the books. And I was thinking, like, in a more generalized way, like you saying, if she read this, like when she was a teenager or young, it would have been impressionable. And I can see like the attraction to people who are traumatized, mm-hmm. to turn that table of manipulation. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of like the manosphere incel kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that seems possibly dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about like if I had read this as a teenager who had been to Fredericks of Hollywood, which is called out as a great place in here, and bought my first corset there at 17, I think I would like to think I would have clocked a lot of this. But I do think I would have probably internalized some of this because, at the time, one of my favorite things to do was to fuck with people's heads. Mm-hmm. And especially men, especially if they had like big egos, the urge to put just a pin in that ego was just so strong for me at the time. And I think I would have probably been, I think I would have internalized some of this. I mean, it's funny because I didn't read the Satanic Bible until I was in my mid to late 20s. But I remember I had a friend who was in her edgy satanic phase, and she brought it to school. And I was reading they have their satanic laws at the front of the book, and I was reading that. And I was like, this is not too bad. This makes some sort of sense. I grew up like an atheist, so I did not have that like need to rebel and blaspheme. So I wasn't like, oh, the taboo, I must read this.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, some of this seems reasonable. And I do think that I could have seen myself falling for some of this at a younger age. Plus, I loved quizzes, so but immediately been drawn in.
Yeah, when you said Cosmo for Satanists, I was like, oh yeah, the quiz is like very Cosmo.
Well, and there's just so many like, if this, then that. Like, if he had structured it in less giant paragraphs and more like article things, it would have been much easier to see it as Cosmo. I mean, we do have pictures here of various 12 o'clock women and 6 o'clock men and all that stuff. Why do the men not have nipples and the women have nipples? That's what I want. But anyway, it gives me strongly women's magazine on how to please a man.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, I mean, if I had read this, I was raised in an ostensibly Christian household. I mean, we didn't attend church. I went to church, but my family didn't really attend church. Like, it would have been that titillating, like, rebellion kind of thing. But I think at that point in my life, because I was such a weirdo, like, it would have been, like, appealing in a way to, like, use that to my advantage or to, like, make myself more appealing and easier to fit in. I'm not really sure which way that would have gone. I think I've grown a lot since I was 15. But at the time, I could see how, like, yeah, like, I feel like depending on when this book hits, like, it could be not the best thing to feed your burgeoning psyche.
Right. And I think like that, not like other girls thing that I was steeped in as a teenager, totally would have nudged me in this direction.
Yeah.
And just blows my mind how long it took me to get out of that bullshit. It's just, but it was so, if you look back at media from that time, it's so ingrained.
Mm-hmm.
It's so ingrained. It's just like, I mean, I just watched Pride and Prejudice from 2005, the 2005 version last night. And there was a thread of not like other girls very strongly. Lizzie is not like other girls. She may giggle like the other girls, but she's got the sharp tongue and like always focused on her. And there's just this like, she's slightly better than everybody else implication.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I don't know, it so much, especially rom-coms and romantic media of the time, just really pushed that. We do a bad movie night with my partner and a friend, and we recently watched Ghosts of Girlfriends Past. Would not recommend. Will make you hate Matthew McConaughey. And it is so like the epitome of those messages, because all the other women in that movie are disposable. Every single one, even the ghosts, like even to some extent the love interest, they are disposable because this guy is like the player of all players. And you kind of see why, because he's adopted by this uncle who's just like this 70s jerk who is definitely sort of embodying this. Like he's like the original neg guy.
Yeah.
And so you see why he grew up that way, but he's just so into it because one time the girl he likes didn't kiss him at a dance. So, he's just got to be a jerk to every other girl.
Core trauma unlocked.
Core trauma. When I saw that bit, I was like, this is why? Because you didn't get a kiss? Like, move on, man. You were 13.
Yeah. Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we were talking about kind of like the pick me and the, I'm not like other girls thing. The thing, I think when I finally just got really angry, and if I had not been reading this for a purpose, I would have been like, just fuck off into the heat, death, and universe, Mr. LaVey, was when he was talking about no man likes an intelligent woman.
Yes.
You can't be too dumb.
Stupid section.
You can't be too dumb because no man likes a dumb woman either.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't show your intelligence and you can't have a vocabulary.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Just wow.
Yeah, that might have been one of the sections I have like color-coded tabs in here. And it's like, not all of them are the ones that make me angry, but some of them are the ones that make me angry. And some of them are like the ones that, were very not like other girls. But yeah. I think I almost marked that one because I think at that point I stopped marking stuff because I was like, this is just angry. I'm just angry. I just need to get through this.
And I
book.
think that's after the salad dressing part where I was already so traumatized.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, what?
The minute he said the LaVey salad dressing test, I was like, oh no, I don't want to know.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And dear reader, dear listener, you don't really want to know. But we've told you so bad.
The bit about armpits and how they're analogous to vaginas, I was just like, and you should have a 5 o'clock shadow on your armpit for reasons?
I'm like, Mr. LaVey, if you like women who don't shave their armpits, that's great. Mm-hmm. A lot of women don't shave their armpits. But if women want to shave their armpits, it's their body and they can do whatever they want with it. Mm-hmm. It can smell like lavender if they wanted to.
Oh, wow. Lavender's a scary scent for a man, though.
Apparently, lavender might be too big a word to use as well.
Oh, really? You should just call it flower.
Oh, yeah. It was, I think the thing I really just walk away from this is it just felt so conservative and retrograde to me. And like, I was like, how is this transgressive? Like, this is the opposite. This is like the opposite of transgressive.
I think the only thing I might take away from this in my everyday life is that if I accidentally flash someone, I've just performed witchcraft.
Apparently so. Apparently. And if your dirty bra strip slips out of your tank top, it's witchcraft.
Witchcraft. And like, if I'm embarrassed, I should lean into the embarrassment because it will only bewitch people further.
And apparently wet your pants in public.
Oh, yes. That was a weird one.
Clearly, there's more about LaVey's fetishes in this book than he's really willing to acknowledge.
Truly a lot of urine. I was not prepared for the amount of bodily fluids and which bodily fluids would show up in this.
But I don't know. I mean, I think if you want to get a glimpse of, like that time frame and this idea and, kind of like it is an interesting artifact.
Sure.
But I would only recommend it as an artifact.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you just need to rage read something. But on the completely opposite scale, I loved your new book.
Yay, thank you.
I mean, it's not really new, I guess, at this point, by the time it's coming out. It is your most recent book. But I don't know. I was talking, so my book club read the first book.
Oh.
And so I was talking to someone else who's in the book club, who happens to be my daughter-in-law. And I was like, oh, you will love this, because everyone was like, you can see like the growth your growth as a writer as you read the book. And I was like, this one is like, yes, stride has been hit. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was just really emotionally satisfying.
Yay.
Like, front to back. And I never like, even, I don't know, there's been this interesting conversation in like the romance world lately about the dark moment kind of thing, like that beat in romances and how people are kind of over it and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I mean, I think it still serves a purpose, but I think that they have to completely break up and, whatever, and fall apart. Like they do, that does kind of happen in this book without spoiling it too much, but it doesn't feel like it's earned. It's not just, oh, I'm going to break up these characters because I have to have my dark moment. Like it's very earned and it's earnest, and it, it calls back to everything that has had to develop for them to fall for each other. So I don't know. I just thought like it hits the romance beats really well. There's still like some amazingly sexy consent. Like all of those kind of hallmarks of a Katta Kis book are in there. So yeah, I just really enjoyed it. And like in like in a not great time, to be succinct, it was a really nice read. So
I'm so glad. Yeah, it was a much more bright and sunny book to write. The first one, definitely a lot more angst and trauma. Like, and this one, I was like, let's do a summer road trip. We're gonna do something nicer, because I mean, like, Patrick had already been through a lot in the first book, so let's give him a really nice romance, and let's give Judith a really nice romance. And like, I didn't want to be as dark. And in fact, in this third book I'm writing, I thought it was going to be so dark and so angsty. I got a couple of trauma-ridden goths. I thought, oh. And then as I was writing it, because I was writing it in the now times, I was just like, oh, this is like full of banter and they're laughing and they like are happy. What? How is this happening? Like there's still angst and stuff, but my brain was like, no, we're not going to go dark.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's probably a lot of cultural writing about what happens when, it's like one of the things I was reading recently is like, that heroin chic movement from the late 90s, early 2000s is kind of back. And I was like, yeah, anytime we go through like turmoil, that, it's when things are good that people kind of have more space to be themselves. And when things get weird, we tend to revert to this like very strict idea about what people are supposed to be. And I think the media does kind of the opposite. Like the media tends to become more, it tends to become brighter and a little happier as more escapism maybe.
Yeah.
But also I keep thinking about, that's also what we fight for in these times, so like it's a good reminder of what the world can be. So
yeah. And like part of what I was going for in Love the Rock show was like the queer joy, because she's pansexual, and like her disability was not going to drag her. It's like it is an obstacle, but it's not
Mhm.
going to make her this like sad, pity party.
Right.
Like she was going to deal with it, but still have joy.
Mhm.
I think because sometimes you see these. I've read some books where I read this one book. It was like written by a disabled woman, and it was ostensibly a romance, and it was just the saddest, also most misogynistic, like YA book I've read in a long time. And her happy ending was that the guy she liked, like, let her give him a furtive blowjob in a car at the end, and then they became an undercover couple.
Ooh.
And I was just so like wrecked for this person. This is the only joy you can imagine, is that maybe someone will consent to sneak around with you.
Oh, that's really sad.
I know.
That's not a happy ever after or happy for now. That's just sad.
It was upsetting. It was very upsetting, and she hated every other woman in the book too. Like, just
maybe she had read the Satanic Witch.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It was very conservative too. It was like she was really happy that his parents were yuppies, and like I was just like blown away. I don't know. It was very strange.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other like conversation in romance right now too, is that because romance is a pretty big tent, but there are rules, and like one of the rules is happy for now, happy ever after, right? And happy for now has some people a little upset. Like people want happily ever after. They want the traditional comedy in like the traditional sense, like Shakespeare's comedies, marriage or a baby at the end, right? I mean, that's a lot of people. That's what they want out of their romance novels, and a lot of them don't end that way anymore. Or happy for now is kind of not what they want. But I think there is this whole group of people who want to write romance because they want to sell romance, that are writing women's fiction or romantic stories.
Yes.
That are not romance.
Oh my God.
Colleen Hoover, I'm calling you out.
Yeah. If there's a thing that can piss me off more is when a book is labeled romance and there's not a happy ending. Like,
yeah. It's it's not a romance. It's a romantic story, or it's a love story, but it's not romance. Like, it's not a romance book.
Yeah.
Which is complicated because romance has been a lot of things over time.
Yeah.
But I think that, the main thing is that takeaway of happy for now or happy ever after. And I mean, I think that's, like one of the things I like about your books too. They kind of, if you like happy ever after, you kind of can get that from your books, but it's also really more of a happy for now because these are real people with real lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the happy for now because it's a series and you can see them throughout the books. But also I am not a huge marriage and baby person.
Right.
So like I like to see that more than like, oh, they're just gonna get, do a proposal in the epilogue, or like suddenly you're pregnant, that feels, I guess, a little sort of heteronormative, but also strange to my experience. Maybe because a lot of the people I know are getting married much later, or they're having much longer engagements. I mean, for reference, I've been with my partner for 17 years and we are not married. We might get married in the future, but it's sort of a financial decision at this point. But, a lot of the people around me aren't getting married, or they're not having babies. And a lot of them are very anxious at the thought about having babies, especially in the world right now. Not that I'm against anyone having babies. I think that's a really big act of hope at this point.
Yeah.
But, I think that's not the ending I'm always, I feel it is often shoehorned.
Yeah. Well, and I think especially for me, like, especially romances where they meet in the book, it's like, you haven't given me time to think if this person really wants to spend the rest of their life with this other person. I mean, yes, I think people can meet and know soon. Like, I think that happens, that they're my person forever or whatever. But I also think life is complicated. So, like, I don't know that I always agree that. Yeah. And I don't want it to feel like, oh, here's our happy ever after and our wedding. And I'm like, y'all barely know each other.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And the expectation that you get married so soon after you meet, I think, is sort of fallen by the wayside too. Like, people are in relationships a lot longer. I mean, some folks or some cultures, that's still like, you can know each other a week and decide to get married, and that's very in that culture. Totally fine. It's just not what I'm writing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and someone is writing it. If you want it. Someone is writing it. If you want it, it's out there right now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Oh, so is this like, what is, I guess is a good time to kind of like, what's up next for you? What's going on? What do you want to plug? What do you want to?
So what's coming up next for me is No Love in LA is coming out in the fall. I'm not putting a date on it yet because I'm trying to be very sustainable in my writing for myself. And it's, as we record this, it's with beta readers. I'm not sure how long it'll take me to edit. I'm hoping it'll be a pretty quick turnaround, but I'm not going to put a date on it till I'm pretty sure that I can hit that date. But that's what's coming up for me this year, which I'm excited about because I can't wait for people to meet Angie and Benji. I mean, they've met them if they've read the series, but like to see them finally come together, it's been pretty satisfying for me. Yeah.
Yeah, Benji was one of my favorite characters from the first book. So I'm glad they're getting their story.
I love it.
I like the clearly vulnerable archness of Benji is appealing. So yeah. Great. So, and where can people find your books?
So my books are wide all over, but you can find me at kattakis.com, where I have all my buy links. I'm on Itch.io. I'm on Amazon. Pretty much if you Google Love in the Liner Notes or Love of the Rock Show, you should be able to find them. Also, you can order them from your local indies or from your library. If they are open to ordering indie books, they should be able to order mine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll put all that in the show notes for folks.
Awesome.
And thanks for coming on in our new format from the last time you were on.
This was fun. I enjoyed the new format a lot. I've been listening to all the other episodes, as I told you. It's really fun to learn about, old witch books. And it was an experience to read this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's good. Like you said, it's good to learn about the good, bad, and the ugly. There's, we need all of that. And I think as an artifact, obviously LaVey has had influence in the occult community.
Yeah.
For good or ill. And, now I have a little more underpinning about who he was as a writer and a person.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And, for all its faults, and there were a lot of faults and there were a lot of paragraphs where I was just like, oh God, why is this so long? He was, as you said, like entertaining and somewhat charming in certain sections. So it wasn't like, and it wasn't the longest, most sloggiest book I've ever read. Yeah.
And folks, it is widely available if folks want to give it a go themselves.
Yeah, I got this at my local indie, no problem. They had like 3 copies, which I was shocked by.
Wow. Yeah. No, I just picked it up used. So online. I ordered it online used. So
yeah.
But yeah. So it's out there if you want to read it. And if you want to read ahead for next month, read Rachel Pollack's 78 Degrees of Wisdom, which is a really long book, but I don't think it's a slog. So excellent. Well, Katta, thank you again. And I cannot wait for Angie and Benji's story.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. It's wonderful as always.
WitchLit is a production of 1000 Volt Press and is edited by Julian Rashke. Our intro music is Cosmic Glow by Andrew Kay, and our outro music is Voices by Alexander Shanekar. Transcripts and all our previous episodes are available at witchlitpod.com, and you can follow us on Instagram or Threads at witchlitpod. Please help other witches find us by leaving a rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts. And thank you for listening to and reading WitchLit.